Okay, Unit 1, Lesson 3, Types of Numbers. Again, for this unit, you should have a calculator with you. When we start to order them, we'll use a calculator to help. To start, we're just going to talk about the different types of numbers and recognizing which ones there are. These sets of numbers, you really need to memorize the definitions and what they are. I will do my best to try to explain them to you. And you just need to be able to recognize these to start, what kind of number each one is. So we're actually going to work here from the bottom up to make this a little easier to deal with. So the natural numbers or the counting numbers, these are just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. The difference between the natural and the whole numbers is the whole numbers actually include 0. So there's not really a huge difference, but 0 is considered a whole number. It's not considered a natural number. Now, integers. This keyword here is opposites or negatives. So the integers are all your whole numbers, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and so on. But it also includes the negative versions of those, or the opposites. So the opposite of 1 is -1. The opposite of 2 is -2. The opposite of 3 is -3. So this goes out both directions, positive and negative numbers. Now, rational numbers and irrational numbers are the two trickiest ones to understand and deal with. Rational numbers really is anything that can be written as a fraction. So a simple one. There's a rational number. Where people sometimes get confused though is what if we put 0.75 on there? Well, even though it's written as a decimal and you think rational numbers and fractions, 0.75 can be written as a fraction. This is the same thing as 3/4. That's why, since this decimal can be written as a fraction, it's going to be rational. Another one that's common is, say, 0.333 or 0.3 repeating. Well, that's equal to 1/3. Even though the decimal never ends, it can be written as a fraction. That's 1/3. So any number that can be written as a fraction is 1/3. A good way to check that, if you come over here in your calculator, okay, a good way to check this. Let's say you have something like 0.287, all right, on your calculator. Well, go to your alpha y equals. Do your fraction decimal converter. If it can convert to a fraction, it's a rational number. If we take something here like pi, which is this, and we try to convert it to a fraction, your calculator, you're going to see, won't be able to do it. That's one of the ways you can test to see whether or not a number is irrational or rational. Now, irrational numbers are numbers that cannot be written as a ratio of two numbers, cannot be written as a fraction. The most common one that we are going to use is pi. Another ones that we will use is a lot of square roots, square root of 2, square root of 3, square root of 5. Most square roots that are not perfect squares are going to give you irrational numbers. So let's take a look. If you take a look at square root of 4, well, that's going to give you 2. That's a rational number. It's also an integer. It's also a whole number. It's also a natural number. So it's all of those. But if you look at square root of 5, and we say, okay, that's a decimal. Let's see if we have one. If we go to here, check our fraction decimal conversion, and you'll notice it won't convert it back to a fraction. So that's an irrational number. So if you ever need to check, a good thing to do on your calculator is use that fraction decimal conversion. It's not 100% accurate, but it's a good place to start, especially if you're in a problem that might give you some trickiness. Now, with these, what you really want to do is order them. And this is a common thing to do or an ask to be done with these numbers. The best way to order these numbers is to turn them all into the same form. The same form for most of these is decimals. Decimals is the easiest way to go. So if you take a look at this and you convert these all to decimals, 2 divided by 3 equals, this is 0.6 repeating. Pi we know is 3.14. If we don't know the square root of 9 is 3, you can plug it in your calculator and get 3, and then you get 0.4. So if we want to order these, okay, and let's say from least to greatest, it will be 0.4, 2/3, which is 0.6 repeating, then square root of 9, and then pi. So take a minute and let's try another one, least to greatest. So again, we'll go least to greatest. We have these 5 numbers here. Pause the video, see if you can order these in least to greatest. All right, hopefully you have done this, and we will look at converting all these to decimal form. So I'm going to just 0.3. Now pi divided by 2, if you want to know where the pi key is, see this blue on the pi on your calculator? So hit second and the up arrow, and you should see pi up here. And we want to do divided by 2, gives us 1.57. Now I don't have to round right now too specifically unless it's going to call for later. So square root of 3 is 1.73. 1/4 is 0.25, and then we have, of course, 1. So if we want to put this in smallest to largest, it would be 0.25, which is 1/4, then 0.3, then pi over 2, which is 1.57, and then, oops, actually we made a mistake there. Forgot about the 1. So we'll put 1 next, and then pi over 2, and then square root of 3. And then you order them. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me, but good luck with the rest of the unit.